is the CEO of CannaVerde Pharma. CannaVerde Pharma is a leading company in the space, headquartered in Canada with operations in Colombia. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Michael, when I started to learn about CannaVerde, one of the things that catch our attention in our investing group was these amazing LOIs and all the work that you have done regarding traction in the space. And what caught my attention the most was the numbers of LOIs and the numbers of traction, the level of traction that CannaVerde Pharma has acquired up today. So, well, welcome to Latino Investment Summit. Michael, it's an honor to have you here. Michael started his career as an analyst at Gluskin Sheff, a hedge fund catering to high net worth families based in Toronto, Canada. Following his career at Gluskin Sheff, he was appointed as an investment director at Infinity Potential Management, the private family office of the founders of BlackBerry. Prior to joining CannaVerde Pharma, Michael co-founded a cannabis-focused private equity firm where he served as a CEO and investment director. Michael is a CFA, chartered holder, and holds an honor double major degree in economics and international studies from York University. Thank you so much once again, Michael, and tell us about CannaVerde Pharma. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that kind introduction, and it's an honor to be here. Of course, we are very excited to present our company, which is CannaVerde Pharma. I'm going to share my screen and go through a quick presentation of CannaVerde Pharma. Then I'll be more than happy to take any questions that you may have. Perfect. So CannaVerde Pharma has a simple vision. We would like to become the leading medical cannabis company in Colombia and throughout Latin America. A quick introduction of Latin America, which is a space we're very, very excited about. Obviously, the population size, about 640 million people, which is nearly twice of that of the United States of America. And not only that, but throughout most of Latin America, medical cannabis has been legalized. So we're talking about Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Colombia, Mexico, and of course, Uruguay. So we do anticipate a very large market in Latin America, and of course, Colombia with its population of 50 million people. There have been many studies done in terms of projections of how large the cannabis market will be. There is one from the Brightfield Group, which has outlined that the legal cannabis market on a global basis is scheduled to reach $31 billion by 2021. Of course, as the other presenters have mentioned, regulatory risk is a big risk to worry about. However, we do realize that there is a movement towards the legalization of cannabis, and the first step would be the medical side of it, and then obviously following into the recreational side. Demand for medical cannabis is large. 68 million people would qualify for medical cannabis medication within Latin America, with chronic pain, anxiety, depression, and epilepsy being some of the major sources that we would require to have medication for. And of course, this is coming from the Brightfield Group as well. We have been in Colombia for a long time, and we're extremely excited about the opportunity that the country offers. The regulatory roadmap in Colombia is very difficult. It has taken us about 3 years to be able to achieve all of the licenses and permits needed for us to begin commercial cultivation. The process itself obviously starts with licenses for cultivation of low THC and high THC, extraction, manufacturing, genetics, and seeds, as well as going through in terms of not only receiving quotas for the scientific evaluation of the commercial strains, but also in terms of going through all of the processes involved in the permits with all the different regulatory bodies in Colombia. We're happy to report that CannaVerde Pharma, through its wholly owned subsidiary, which is Green Health Colombia, has achieved all of the licenses needed to operate. Specifically, we have licenses to cultivate, extract, manufacture, domestically distribute, and export both CBD and THC-based extracts. Furthermore, this year, we have registered 8 strains with varying CBD, THC, and CBG profiles with the Colombian Agricultural Institute, which we can now begin and take into commercial production and cultivation. Furthermore, we have an additional 57 strains with various THC profiles, and those are going through the registration as well, and we'll have those registered shortly. We are located just outside of Bucaramanga in a town called Mesa de los Santos, which gives us the perfect conditions to grow cannabis. We have built about 51,000 square feet of greenhouse space made up of 3 greenhouses, 2 10,000 square foot greenhouses, and 1 60,000 square foot greenhouse, from which we've completed half of that. The government mandate to become the world's largest producer and exporter of cannabis is what excites us about Colombia. Of course, the regulatory risk is present in every single jurisdiction that we've been a part of. Myself as a Canadian, we've obviously spent a great deal of time getting through the legislation and of course changing the legislation so that it better suits the needs of not only producers here in Canada, but the consumers as well. This is Green Health Colombia, which is fully licensed in Mesa de los Santos. The operation can be scaled to 415,000 square feet of cultivation space, and that is to yield about 6.6 million grams of cannabis oil at full production. On the left-hand side, you can see the greenhouses. On the right-hand side, you can see the cannabis, the flowers at the bottom left, and of course our CBD extract on the bottom right. We believe that the management team is one of the most important aspects of an organization, specifically as it pertains to going through the regulatory risk that we needed to go through over the last 3 years to be able to achieve the things that we have achieved. I'd like to point out a few individuals on this slide. I'd like to start with the top right, Yvonne Osma, who's our Chief Medical Officer. Yvonne graduated from one of the most esteemed universities in Colombia, and he also went to Johns Hopkins and Harvard. He's served as a board member for Novartis, and he's also done numerous FDA monitored clinical trials. He is our Michael Jordan. Yvonne is going to assist us with a number of activities that I'll point out, and we're extremely excited to have him as the Chief Medical Officer. Eduardo Mayorga, who is our president, he is the founder of Green Health Colombia, and over the last 19 years, he has spent a great deal of time in management in Bogota Free Trade Zone, El Dorado Airport, BP Oil and Gas, and he does hold an MBA from U Externado. Dr. Peter Chen is the Chief Science Officer. He holds a PhD in food science from the University of Guelph. He is an expert when it comes to adding cannabis, both CBD and THC, to products, be them edibles or be them topicals. And of course, he's been a lead scientist for 2 cannabis producers here in Canada. Paul Robertson is our Chief Financial Officer. He has worked in Colombia over the last 10 years in the mining sector, and he has a distinct knowledge of the Colombian market and how that works. And of course, our rock star when it comes to cultivation, Shane Willen Stubbs, who has significant experience in the Canadian cannabis space, and Shane having been one of the highest yielders in Canada over the last various years. And Shane has agreed to join us about a year and a half ago, and he has not only gone to Colombia, but absolutely loves the country. Carlos Ulloa on our advisory board. Carlos has spent over the last 10 years caring for the well-being of performance athletes in Colombia. He also graduated from one of the most esteemed universities in Colombia, and he has been the team physician for the Colombian national soccer team, as well as the Olympic team and the tennis federation. Carlos has an intimate knowledge of what it takes to bring about medication and keep athletes in tip-top shape. And as we develop the relationship with Carlos, we are extremely interested in bringing forth products that can be used by people who play recreational sports. tennis, football, cycling. So we will be able to use his expertise to build these products. And then of course, use his connections as well to be able to look at athletes, former athletes that would be able to put their faces behind our brands. Javier Patino used to be the general manager of Yambol. He's during his time there, he's increased revenues from 500 million to 200 million. He's done about 150 new product launches throughout Latin America. And he is we're going to use his expertise to be able to bring products to market and to design them properly. And Dr. Villegas is a pain specialist, having done so for the last 15 years. And he is the founder of one of the most recognized ophthalmology clinics in Medellin. And he is going to assist us with the pain medication as we evolved our prescription medication program. This is the most interesting project and the project that we're most excited about. It is a partnership, a clinical research partnership with Foscal Hospital to better help us design products for oncological pain relief. Foscal is one of the largest tertiary care centers in Colombia, comprised of 410 hospital beds, 350 medical specialists, and 300 medical consultants, and is located in Bucaramanga and the Department of Santander. Not only that, but Ivan and his wife, Dr. Andrea Galvis, is assisting us with an applied research partnership and basic science partnership with a medical school and a university hospital in Western Colombia, and we will announce that shortly in terms of the details of that. We are focused on building a medical cannabis cluster in Santander, and we believe that Santander is the premier area in Colombia in terms of healthcare. So we have put together 3 companies: Green Health Colombia, our wholly owned subsidiary, Saludar, and Medical Precision Care. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring medication to patients. And within a few weeks, we will be one of the few companies in Santander to be able to write prescription for a variety of ailments for medical cannabis. And we will focus on the Formula Magistral, and we will focus on bringing forth new products for prescription medication. And Medical Precision Care is an INVIMA registered master pharmacy. And now they're in the process of obtaining an extension to include medical cannabis. JGB, we have signed a co-development agreement with JGB, which is a consumer packaged goods company with more than 1,000 employees within Colombia. The goal here is to integrate CBD into existing product lines, as well as develop new product lines that contain CBD. We've already developed 3 products. And of course, prior to COVID-19 and the total shutdown of not only Colombia, but the rest of the world, we've had to push back this project. However, we are close to bringing forth projects for the Colombian market in partnership with JGB. Promi is another consumer packaged goods company that manufacture cosmetic products and toiletries. We have signed a similar agreement to them to integrate CBD into their existing product lines, as well as bring new product lines containing CBD into manufacturing, marketing, and retail distribution. We have signed our first distribution agreement with the Faranda Hotels, which is a hotel group with properties in Spain, Colombia, Panama, Mexico, Dominican Republic, and Venezuela. We are going to place CBD-based products as toiletries in hotel rooms, and the first pilot program will focus on Hotel Casa La Factoria and Hotel Bantu in Cartagena. Again, we've had to push this back due to COVID-19, and obviously Cartagena being a major tourist destination. COVID-19 has decreased not only the amount of tourists, but of course ravaged the tourist industry in Cartagena. So we are ready to go in terms of this pilot project, and we will begin to do so as soon as it is safe for all of our employees and all of the stakeholders involved in getting this project up to speed. So as you can see, our strategy is to move away from cultivation, although we have all of the licenses that we need to be able to cultivate, extract, not only distribute, but also international export, and to move into partnerships that will enable us to become the leading company in terms of medical cannabis in Colombia. Furthermore, as the legislation develops into a recreational side of it, which we anticipate that will happen throughout the world, although it will happen in some places faster than will happen in others, we want to be able to take advantage of that opportunity with our topicals. We have edibles that we plan to bring forth, and of course, in terms of registration with INVIMA. So we are focusing on bringing all these partners to the table that each has a specific skill set that together we can build a fantastic company to be proud of. Our capital structure is very simple. We have 12 million shares outstanding at a price per share of 60 Canadian cents for a valuation of $7.2 million. We also have about $3 million worth of debentures and about 88,000 warrants. So issued and outstanding, we have about 17.3 million shares, which is a valuation of approximately $10 million Canadian. And today we are raising capital, and we're seeking a minimum of 5 million Canadian dollars and a maximum of 10 million. It is a convertible unsecured 2-year debenture that yields 10% per year and has a mandatory conversion into common shares at 60 cents upon IPO or maturity. To date, we have raised $5.2 million, and most of that have gone into our operations in Colombia. So we're extremely proud to have used this capital to bring forth the medical cannabis market in Colombia, and to be able to build the greenhouses, the extraction facilities, as well as to develop all the relationships that we have done so in the past. The money will be used to complete the scientific evaluation with the Colombian Agricultural Institute, develop proprietary medical products for the Latin American market, assist doctors and clinics with the prescription of cannabis-based medication. We're going to finish our greenhouse build and our GMP-compliant extraction facility, and of course, the JV agreements that we plan to bring forth, as well as sales and marketing and operating expenses. That is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm inviting our charts that will be asking you a couple of questions, each of them. We have 4 charts today joining us. Coralie Borders from Aura Ventures, Douglas Gordon from Canex, Rohit Sharma from Indian Industrial Health Association, and Javier Hayes from Besinga. I would like to introduce first Coralie. Coralie Borders from Aura Venture. Coralie brings deep international supply chain operations and marketing experience to Aura Venture's mission of building high-velocity brands, making positive impacts around the globe. Having lived and worked across 4 continents, Coralie brings over a decade of international business experience, working with multinational conglomerates like Saint-Gobain and in the agricultural, food, and beverage sector. She also launched and managed her own brand in business to customer verticals like direct trade chocolate, adding to her unique approach and understanding of how to build impact businesses. Welcome, Coralie. Thank you so much for joining us today. Coralie is representing Aura Ventures, one of the most trusted funds in the space, led by an incredible woman called Jennifer Sanders. It's always a pleasure to have female representatives within the venture capital arena, within the financial industry, and of course within cannabis. Welcome, Coralie, and feel free to ask Michael any questions that you might have in order to understand better their initiative and their deal.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Michael. That was an extremely well thought out overview of the firm. It is clear that you have a very strong strategy moving forward. I'd like to take a step back and take us back to a question that I feel will be extremely important in a post-COVID-19 world, and that's specifically around your firm's sustainability agenda and specifically around social and environmental impact. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about your firm's sustainability agenda, and could you give a specific example of what that might be? Some things that come to mind specifically are any commitments to resource efficiency, sustainable agriculture practices, guarantee of fair and working conditions for your employees, or any involvement or creation of community outreach programs in Colombia. Thank you.
Hi, Coralie. It's nice to meet you. Thank you very much for that question. It is a very important question, specifically as we only have one planet, and we have been very, very careful as to ensure that all of our processes do not leave an environmental footprint, and if there is one, it is minimized as much as possible. A specific example would be our greenhouse construction. We have, obviously, water rights are a very difficult issue in Colombia and a very important one. Although we sit on top of an aquifer, we have looked at the rain over the last 10 years in Mesa de los Santos. So when we decided to bring forth, and of course, the medical cannabis plant, or the cannabis plant as in general, requires a lot of water use. And what we have done is we have built all of our greenhouses on a 3-degree slope in order for us to collect rainwater. From our studies, the rainwater does not go deep into the aquifer. The aquifer is replenished from the mountains hundreds of miles away. So what we have done is we've created a system where the water falls on top of our greenhouses. It is collected through a series of pipes and taken through our water plant where it is treated, and then it goes into the plants. So over the last 10 years, based on an average precipitation of water, we have looked at about 40 to 50% of all our water use will come from the water that falls on top of our greenhouses from the rain. And that is something that it's been a pilot project, and now it's turning into reality. And that means that we will use 40 to 50% less water from the aquifer, which of course it's an important source of water for drinking and for a variety of other things. Furthermore, we understand that as a Canadian company, our goal is to bring forth jobs as well as pay taxes in Colombia. Because we are, at the end of the day, myself, I am a visitor into that beautiful country. And we would like to make sure that most of our salaried employees are Colombian. Most of our equipment comes from Colombia. And when we don't have the ability to do so, then obviously we have to go somewhere else. We have schools, we have churches in our neighborhood that we've been sponsoring in terms of building ramps, in terms of equipment for sports, in terms of uniforms, and in terms of textbooks. And further to that, our employees are extremely well taken care of in terms of not only providing lunches, but making sure that they benefit as well through the extension and the growth of our company. And because we've seen way too many times where the CEOs and the executive team gets rich while everyone else is left the way they were. And we're definitely not willing to do something like that.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next chart, I'm inviting Douglas, please. Douglas, are you here? Are you joining us?
I am indeed. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Douglas. Douglas, are you ready to ask Michael some questions? Let me introduce you first, Douglas. I'm sorry. Look, Douglas has almost 30 years work experience, spanning finance, media, sales, and marketing. He began his career in commercial banking with Bank of America before pursuing entrepreneurial ventures that shaped the next 20 years of his career. He is a visionary leader with a natural ability to look beyond the clutter and inspire others towards long-term goals. Thank you for joining us today, Douglas. Douglas, where are you right now? Are you in Jamaica?
I am indeed, Montego Bay, Jamaica.
That's great. Please go ahead and ask Michael some questions in order to understand better their deal.
Sure, Michael, thank you for such a comprehensive presentation. It's very informative and very interesting. My question is specific to, what sort of revenue targets are you looking at over the next 36 months? And what percentage of those are based on domestic sales into the Colombian Latin American market, and what are predicated on export out of Colombia? And then the final part to that is to understand what percentage of that is going to be finished products versus flour and oil.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And it's nice to meet you. And so we have, it's been a difficult time to provide projections into the future specifically as it relates to regulatory risk. And of course, we have, as we started in the operation two to 3 years ago, and as we develop our models and financial models, we found out that we were wrong every single time. And not only that, but it's been a difficult time with COVID. So as you know, right now, Colombia does not allow any dry flower sales unless it is done to other licensed producers. So everything must be a finished product in terms of an extracted product, so an oil or a derivative. The difficulty in projecting, and for now we've seen some of our competitors in Colombia, specifically Farmacéutico and Quirón, who have been there for a significant amount of time as well. They have projected revenues and they've hit a fraction of those. So right now we have to understand that Colombia is still developing its market, and we have stayed away from providing revenues because we would be making those up. And it changes depending on how will COVID and what will happen in terms of that. We were supposed to bring forth the product development in Cartagena, but of course we had to move that and are still waiting to see when it is safe to do so. So we've if I were to give you numbers today, I would be making them up just simply because of the way that the market is going to develop. We do anticipate significant revenues, specifically from the medical side of it, as we get more patients and as we build our patient base. So for example, if we were to build and get 500 to 1,000 patients, each spending $300 to $400 a year, that's a revenue stream that we're looking at. And of course, on the extraction side with the oils. But we do anticipate to have revenues in the next 36 months. I just couldn't point a finger as to exactly what they would be.
Fair enough.
Thank you so much, Douglas. Thank you so much, Michael, once again. Rohit, what time is in India? Thank you so much for making the effort of being here today, joining us. Rohit is the founder and president of the Indian Industrial Hemp Association. Rohit is what I believe is the leading entrepreneur in the space in India. I think that for all Latin America and in general, for all the world, India is going to be one of the major players in the industry. I think that India is going to be one of the major key strategic partners for Latin America. It has an extensive pharmaceutical industry, extensive experience. They know how to navigate perfectly the FDA. So Rohit, thank you so much for being here. As the president of Indian Industrial Health Association and director of cannábica Limited, Rohit is working in the field of industrial hemp-based economy development in India and across borders from the past decade. This includes CBD, industrial hemp fiber, nutrients, oil, medicine, biomass, feedstock, installation, eco-construction materials, plastics, and etc. All the of the agricultural hemp opportunity. Welcome, Rohit. Thank you once again so much for your efforts. And we know that we have quite in terms of hours, and please ask Michael any questions that you might have regarding CannaVerde Pharma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. I think I'm missing Colombia. It is I've been there for almost 2 years, watching Colombian industry since it started. And quite promising. Michael, I'd like to congratulate you. You have done, I have not seen any good presentation in 3 years from Colombia. And I think you have done a very good job. And that's the way it should be done. I have few sets of queries, which is very interesting, which I've seen in your presentation. One is like as you have written in your presentation, it's a low-cost cannabinoids. As we see, America is is also focusing on the lowest cost cannabinoid side, and all the world, the race is going down to zero because the demand is increasing and the prices needs to be corrected. I started the cannabinoids working with CBD in 2010, and we used to sell CBD when it was $160 a gram. Now we are talking about in cents. So I'm very curious to know, like, what is this the USP of your company? You will be pitching in only to B2B or B2C? What is the segment you are targeting? And I have two more sets of questions, but if you can answer these to me.
Perfect. It is nice to meet you, and thank you very much for the kind words. As we have when we started CannaVerde Pharma and Green Health Colombia, the goal was to achieve all the licenses needed in order for us to be very nimble, to be able to take advantage of all of the opportunities, whether it be sell to consumers, whether it be sell to other businesses, it would be sell into JGB and the consumer products firms into the country. We decided to have all of the licenses that we needed to be able to take advantage of that. As we move forward, we have seen a drastic decrease of the price of cannabis, specifically in the US, specifically in Canada, and specifically in Latin America as well, in Colombia, where we were talking about $3,000 to $4,000 US per kilogram of CBD. We are now talking about a fraction of that. So CannaVerde has thought very hard about how do we proceed and how do we take advantage of the opportunities. And we do not want to be a cultivator, and we do not want to sell. Not only that, but we don't have the economies of scale to be able to achieve there are companies now that are doing 3 cents, 4 cents a gram in terms of production cost. And of course, those are done over a significant amount of space. The problem with the cannabis plant, as you know, it is very fickle, and having a 1 million square foot facility is very, very difficult to grow cannabis. Just very, very difficult. The market in Canada now is finding that out, and that they went from 1 million square feet to 100,000, 80,000, 60,000, because it is much more manageable from the micro side. So we are interested in developing products for the consumer that has CBD and THC, among other things. And then we're focusing on the prescription drug medication as well, with our partnerships with Saludar and Foscal. So we would like to go up the higher chain and not be a cultivator of cannabis, as we believe the prices will be very low.
Okay, so you are more focusing on the brand aspects of your product lines, not on going into the tedious task of cultivation, because it will be quite a big competitive area, you think?
That is correct. And we have partnered with companies like JGB which have brands already, and their brands sit in the consumer's mind. So having to build a brand from scratch is a very difficult and expensive endeavor. But using the ability of companies like JGB and others to use existing brands. And of course, we're doing some brand development on the side as well, with the help of Carlos Ulloa and the help of others with Promi, to be able to bring forth to the consumer. But yes, we're focusing on the higher end segment.
So are your brands already existing, or you are still working on the brands?
We are still working on the brands.
You're still working on the brands, not even the sampling or the formulations?
We do. We have all the formulations in place, and we have built samples of the brands. We just haven't launched the brands yet, due to a variety of reasons, which the biggest one being COVID. But we have all the brands ready, and our Chief Science Officer, Peter Chen, has been working on developing the brands over the last 2 years, specifically the formulations. And we have looked at a variety of ways to be able to have CBD be more absorbent into the bloodstream and into the skin as well, because and therefore that is a cost benefit, because there's less and less CBD that we would need to put into the product to be able to achieve the same results as more. So we have spent a great deal of time and thought about how exactly the formulations look like, and then we're ready to go in that regard.
And when the demand will increase, how will you fulfill the CBD from? Which country you will source it from?
Well, so of course in Colombia, we will source it for Colombia. We are also cultivating. So we're just not cultivating at the scale that others are. So we do have cultivation, and we have cultivation of the highest quality due to our director of cultivation, which is Shane. So we do have cultivation, and we're also focusing on the medical side of it with the THC and being able to provide high quality THC for medication that will be done by prescriptions. So as we increase demand, then we'll be able to go to others, which of course they need to provide the same type of quality to fulfill that order in terms of buying the actual extract of CBD, and as we go into the recreational side, the THC. But keep in mind that we will have 415,000 square feet at full capacity on the 7 hectares. So we will have the ability to fulfill all of the demand within the next few years as it evolves.
And as an investor, are you planning to launch the IPO in a Canadian stock exchange?
We believe so. So all options are on the table in terms of that, possibly a cross listing into Europe and into the US. Obviously, the US being a bit more difficult given the federal illegality of it, but mostly Canada. So we have all of the number of shareholders needed for us to be able to undertake an IPO, but also an RTO with another company that's looking to do a deal. So when the time is right, we are. I want to say this because we've seen the valuations of Canadian companies and others go from extremes on the high end to extremes on the low end. And we were quite lucky to be able to be a private company because we didn't sit in front of people and say, well, look, this is a $10 or $50 million company, but it's worth 40 to 50 million because of the frothy bubble that we're in. And then, of course, have investors at that valuation come in and now sit with 70, 80% losses. So when the time is right, which will be in the near future, we will be undertaking a public listing and most likely on a Canadian stock exchange.
Okay. And who's the majority of the investors in your company from the series? I think the seed funding you received somewhere around 5 million Canadian dollars. Is it a majority of stakeholders by the first investors or the founders?
So we have, in the first capital raise with the founders and family and friends, we raised $2.135 million. And about 8 months later, we raised an additional $3 million in debentures. So we have a wide variety of stakeholders. No one owns more than 10% of the company. We have about 130 investors altogether in the company. And we've made sure that the management team and the founders did not receive any free or cheap shares. So the first founders raise was done as 30 cents. Our valuation today in terms of raising capital is 60 cents. So every single one of our founders and every single one of our early investors came in at 30 cents. There was nothing below that in regards to the company. So it's a wide range of investors within our company.
And what is the asset valuation? As it's not mentioned in the books. Did you acquire a lot of assets?
So Green Health Colombia was acquired on a valuation of $1.2 million in December 2018. And that $1.2 million was issued in shares at the 30-cent valuation to our Colombian founders. And of course, now we have built assets in terms of greenhouses, in terms of extraction facilities, and in terms of licenses and such. But the original investment was for $1.2 million, and that was the purchase of Green Health Colombia.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you, Michael. I'll get in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit, and thank you, Michael. Yeah. This is a great way to not only fundraise but also connect with potential strategic partners. Rohit is definitely one of the leaders in India, so we expect CannaVerde Pharma and Rohit can do something together, some collaboration. Our last chart that will be asking questions to Michael is Javier. Welcome back, Javier.
Thank you.
Here?
Yeah, can you turn on my camera? There you go. Yeah, I'm getting the request. There you go.
Thank you.
Well, glad to be back. This time on the side of the deal that I'm more comfortable in. Should we get into it? I don't think you need to present me again.
No, absolutely. I mean, you did a fantastic job at showcasing how difficult it is to pitch in the last few minutes of your presentation.
So here's what I'm going to say is, as you know, the people who saw me talk earlier, I'm not a great speaker, and pitching is hard, and you did a really good job at there was a good amount of data, enough, not overwhelming, a very clear breakdown of the history of the company, the different business verticals, and the team. Very good presentation, very clear. You finished with the ask, which, as we said before, was something that many people forget, especially getting into the technical aspects of it, how the money will be taken in. I have several questions, but we can do kind of a lightning round because they're all short. You're pre-revenue, right now?
Correct.
And how far into your $5 million raise, 5 to 10, are you right now?
So we just started the capital raise not too long ago, but we believe we have a $3 million lead order.
Perfect. And at 5 million, you'll be able to clear escrow. Is this correct? And start allocating the money?
Yes. So we will have. So we have lawyers in both Colombia and Canada, and of course we want to hit a specific minimum in order for the money to be released.
Yeah.
So as we continue forward, we just need to look at exactly what that amount is and how our cash needs are, and obviously it's that will be a question for the lawyers.
So the reason why I'm asking this is, I have two big concerns here. One is, how long are you able to go on, right? Being pre-revenue, right? And even with a capital raise, as you mentioned, there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty, and then rollout, like for products, is slow, and exporting is not as easy as it seems. So, revenue takes a while to roll in. So how long do you think you can go on before hitting revenue? And when do you expect to hit revenue, right? That's my first concern.
No, that's perfect. And so I have a significant amount of experience in finance, and specifically on the hedge fund side and on the private family office side, in terms of how do we look at companies and how do we evaluate them? Because anytime you look at the regulatory risk present, and back when we started this in 2018, there was a massive regulatory risk involved, specifically as Canada was looking to legalize and all of the things involved. But sooner or later, we get there. And we were anticipating revenues in March, April of this year. And of course, a one-in-a-lifetime event happened, and that had to push back our revenue projections. But we are ready to commercially cultivate any one of the strains that have been registered with the Colombian Agricultural Institute. So as such, let's say a cultivation takes 4 months. We are technically, in a COVID-free world, 4 months away from revenue. And as we continue to move forward, we have been extremely diligent in our capital raise. And I have had the privilege of working for some heavyweights in Canadian business. And the way I look, so I've dealt with billionaires, I've dealt with people that have hundreds of millions of dollars, and their approach to spending capital, it doesn't matter if you're investing $100 or $1 billion. You need to do the same level of due diligence that you would. And not to lay your guard down. So $5 million investment will be able to, and we're very, very careful. So that's why I'm not sitting in front of you and saying I have 1 million square feet of cultivation space, because Colombia doesn't require 1 million square feet of cultivation space today. Maybe it will in the future, but it's not there today. So we have grown very responsibly to be able to take advantage of the opportunities as they arise. Our facilities are mostly complete. So most of this capital is going to be used towards the product launches, and getting everything ready to be able to take advantage of the opportunities. So with $5 million, I think we're okay for the next 12 to 18 to 24 months with a capital spending plan in place that's extremely responsible. Because as Troy said at the beginning of the presentation, you can have everything right. You can have the perfect team, the perfect greenhouses. You could even have the customer ready to go. But if the regulatory environment changes in such a way that you can't deliver that, then you are in a lot of trouble. So we've been very, very careful as to how we allocate capital. And so we are 4 months away from revenue. Obviously, we need to be very, very careful with COVID. The health of our employees and the health of everyone involved in our company is of paramount importance. And if that means revenue gets pushed by an extra month to 2 months, then so be it. Because of the fact that without our people, we don't do the things that we've done. So 4 months away from revenue and 12 to 18 to 24 months of runway to be able to take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah, that was my concern. Like, because you expect the products to hit the market in, say, the next 6 to 12 months tops, right? And let's move on. The second concern revolves more around focus, right? You mentioned a very strong medical focus, through Saludara and Foscal and your collaborations with Farana. And on the other hand, your collaborations with JGB and you said Prami, right? And very CPG focused model. And I think those are the two stronger models right now in cannabis. You either do like medical cannabis or CPG products. Recreational cannabis, it's like, yeah, growing buds, whatever. It's a good business model, not, in my opinion, great. My only concern, and I don't mean to be mean or facetious, is it sounds a little bit all over the place, right? Is it a CPG company? Right? Are you making CBD toothpaste with JGB, or are you making medical products, right? And can you focus on both, right? And if so, how? How do you execute it on two very different strategies, right?
I'm very, very glad you asked that question, because so we have, Eduardo has been, which is our president and founder of Green Health Colombia. Eduardo has been instrumental in getting Saludar, medical care precision, and all of these actors to be able to work together to start with the pharmacy model and the prescription model. So CannaVerde and Green Health Colombia do not write prescriptions, and CannaVerde and Green Health Colombia do not formulate medication. What we're looking to do on that side of the end is provide high quality cannabis to be able to go into those prescriptions. That's not, so our focus is cultivation on that end, and we have Shane, who is absolutely tremendous to be able to take advantage of that, and Eduardo to spearhead those efforts. On the other side, we have Peter Chen and JGB and Promi and the others. So Peter Chen has focused on product formulation and bringing CBD into these products. We are not manufacturing, we're not distributing these products. Although it is a co-development agreement, we've made sure that we don't do things that have already been done by others, and specifically others that do them well. And that's the reason with the JGB co-development. There's a kind of in Green Health where to get into distribution, manufacturing, labeling, and all of those things. Not only is it extremely expensive and time consuming, we don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's why our focus can be in many directions, simply because of the fact that we are focusing on the cultivation for now of CBD and THC as we receive the quota. We are focusing then with Carlos to say, Dr. Carlos Ulloa, JGB, Peter Chen, they can get together and they can say, well, look, this is the product that we're formulated. Dr. Ulloa, are you comfortable with such a product? Yes. Peter, are you comfortable with the product? Yes. Can we get some athletes behind the product? And then JGB will be able to manufacture and distribute that product. Sure. So even though it sounds like the focus is not there, our focus is very much there to be able to take advantage of all these opportunities. And for now, we don't know exactly how the market is going to develop. If Colombia and other jurisdictions go, well, it's legal tomorrow, we can now have recreational cannabis, then obviously every single company that has prepared for medical must change their focus around. So we want to be nimble enough to be able to take advantage of opportunities, because the market in Colombia has not been fully fledged yet, unlike Canada and unlike certain states in the US.
Definitely. No, it's a very interesting model with what to me seems like reasonable execution risk. Of course, some contingency related risks, the what ifs and if and when that every other cannabis company in Colombia faces. But seems like a very reasonable amount of risk to take for a non-risk averse investor. Exactly. And I like that you're conservative in spending. For me, fiscal responsibility is key. I always underspend and over deliver, and investors ask me why I'm not spending more. I'm like, let me consider currency fluctuations. Let me consider potential tax implications we're not thinking about right now. Let me think about, having this dual, this corporation in 2 different countries. So like, I like that approach. And I like your confidence on being able to execute,
Thank you. It's much better to underspend and sell all your product than to overspend and sit on piles of product in your warehouses. And I love that attitude. And that's exactly what we're doing here at CannaVerde for now, as we get the market to develop. Because sooner or later, I do believe there'll be a recreational market in Colombia.
Oh yeah.
And there'll be a recreational market in most of Latin America. And obviously, and that's why we have a focus on Colombia to start, because we're not focusing on Peru, we're not focusing on Argentina. We are from an export perspective, but it doesn't make sense for us to start those facilities there when we haven't finished the job in Colombia. And as Colombia develops, then we can partner with other companies in Peru and Argentina. We are not fans of empire building. And as you can see in Canada, the empires are now being dismantled with billions of dollars at risk. And most importantly, a lot of investors who have lost a significant amount of money because a CEO can sit in front of people and can say, well, look, I own assets in Argentina, I own assets in Peru, I own assets in South Africa, I own assets in Canada. And look, I'm overseeing this, when in reality it's very, very difficult to have so many assets in so many jurisdictions and keep and pay close attention. And that's why we love Colombia, and we're extremely proud to be a part of that country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. And thank you, Michael. Well, great pitch. How can we connect with CannaVerde Pharma? How can we reach you? I'm pretty sure, well, we have right now 34 participants in our VIP chat, so feel free to network, to send your email, to send your information so we can contact you. But also, there's 126 assistants that cannot be part of the chat, but that maybe they are interested in learning your information, so they can reach you.
So my email is very simple. It's michael@cannaverdepharma.com. We have a website, cannaverdepharma.com as well. And I am on LinkedIn as well, and Instagram, and a variety of other places. And of course, you've been fantastic, and thank you very much for your time and everything that you're doing for Latin America and for Colombia. And we look forward to working together, and thank you very much for your time.
It's an honor to have social leading companies like yours presenting in our platform. If you guys are interested in learning more about CannaVerde Pharma, leading company headquartered in Canada with operations in Latin America, starting in Colombia, you can reach us as well, info@muiscacg.com, carol@muiscacg.com. We would love to show you this great opportunity and to dig more into details if you are interested. So our next presenter is Barbara. Barbara, it's such an honor to have you here. We are going to have a couple of promo videos from some of our sponsors. Interesting information, take a look, and we will see you again in 10 minutes.